Alabama at Georgia, Saturday, 7:30 Eastern kickoff on ABC. Let me set the table for you. This game happened last year. It was a 5-Chalai classic. We were there. It was in Tuscaloosa. Bama got up by like 50. Somehow Georgia then had the lead in the game. I cannot, in strong enough terms, encourage you to rewatch that game this week as we head into this game, because I want you to know that thing was 41-34, and the total on this game this year is 52.5. Interesting. Little stroke of the chin there. Over 800 passing yards in this game last year. Georgia has 33 consecutive home wins. I can hear people clipping that for hype videos even as I speak. But listen, it's extremely hard to play there. It is extremely difficult to beat Georgia anywhere. But when you marry the two, that winning streak makes a lot of sense. Now, there are some out there who would tell you that doesn't really matter for Alabama because Alabama's had Georgia's number. I promise you it matters. As we get into this, it's good that Bama's getting Jam Miller back. Great. Phenomenal. Can't wait. Remember, this is my national champion. So I picked them. I need them to be healthy. Tim Keenan, back. Huge deal. I don't want to overlook any of that. That's why I want to mention that right up front in this video. Here's how I think this game's going to go. I expect a defiant effort from Georgia. And what I mean is kind of like last year when they went and played Texas. And there were people, me included, I think validly questioning them, questioning their mettle. Why aren't you stopping the run? Why can't you run the ball? All this stuff. And they had a stat profile. It was several weeks into the season. It wasn't early. And then they went to Texas and just kind of turned it on its ear. And they just threw Texas in a wood chipper in their own building in Austin. And then did it again in Atlanta a few weeks later. And I remember thinking to myself, good, that's Georgia. It almost makes me angry I didn't see that version of Georgia earlier. So we're a lot earlier in the season this year than when they played Texas last year. And this game's in Athens. It's not in Tuscaloosa or Austin or anything like that. But they're 62nd in pressure rate right now. They're 115th in sacks. So you could look at those numbers, or you can just try and picture this in your head. I got an Alabama offensive line that's been very iffy. I've got a program the past couple of years that's been a little iffy on the road. They've been prone to penalties. They've been prone to giving up pressures on your quarterback. Just force it. Just make it happen. That's a defiant effort. That's what I mean by that. You take the piece of paper and then you realize paper don't play, as Meemaw would say. Players do. Coaching staffs get players ready and then players go play. The Alabama offensive line, I think, has a lot to prove here. A lot to prove. You go back and watch that Florida State game, and everyone's, kind of wondering, what do we do with that tape? What do we do with that outcome? Is Florida State secretly great? Was that just this one-off? I don't know yet. I told you after that game concluded, the next time I'll really find anything out about Bama is 3 weeks from now at that point, which was the road game at Georgia, because that's the next time they'll be thrown in a blender on the road. So here we go. It's a few days away. I remember that Texas game last year, and I've watched Kirby Smart Georgia teams, and sometimes it plays true to what the stat sheet tells you. There are other times they just have this defiant manner about themselves, and they have this defiant effort that they put forth. And sometimes you'll watch them like I did against Texas, and they're just getting after the quarterback all night. And I'm like, boy, that hasn't been there all year. Where did it come from? Well, the answer is it was always there. They just, for whatever reason, had it bottled up and didn't really have the strength to twist the top until the Texas game. I think another thing could be in play there, and that is Georgia only feels truly threatened a few times a year. Georgia only feels like people doubt them a few times a year. People doubted them on the road at Texas last year. And I'll tell you, as much as Bama looked bad in week one, that has kind of subsided because they've buzzsawed everybody they've played since then, and they're going to go in here, and this line's 2.5. This thing dropped below a field goal today. It's 2.5 in favor of Georgia, which implies maybe Bama even a slight favorite on a neutral field. Georgia feels a little doubted here. That's when you tend to get those efforts from them. So that's the first thing I'm looking for. The second thing is it's a really, really big competitive character test. I'll use the M word. It's a really big manhood test for Georgia. We give Dave Ballou full freedom to echo that all throughout that building. You do whatever you need to do. But Bama, 91st in penalties right now. Georgia 4th. Georgia, it was so impressive to watch them go into Knoxville, not a single false start. Now, they won't have to deal with crowd noise this Saturday. But point being, that's indicative of a very, very disciplined team. It's a high competitive character team. I think that's in Alabama. I just think they have to show it here. It's a real gut check moment because for all the what ifs that you could talk about, and there are several ways Bama could have a lot of success Saturday, it all works downstream of having composure and really having toughness. By that I mean, you got to nut up a little bit against that pass rush and give your guy time to throw. Because when Ty Simpson's had time to throw, he's looked surgical this year. What was he, like 41 of 46 the last couple of weeks? That really is a moot point if he doesn't have time to throw. And if your offensive linemen, specifically at the tackle positions, look like turnstiles all night, and you understand who you're playing here, even if Kirby Smart doesn't have a front seven loaded with future first-rounders, he's got plenty good enough personnel, and they're plenty multiple enough to give you a lot of different looks, a lot of different pressures. It's on the road anyway, you can't hear. So it is a big, big competitive character gut check time for Alabama. Now, if they answer that bell, then it's game on. Because if they answer that bell, Bama's playing with the kind of precision that can embarrass you. Alabama's got the kind of skill set out wide that if a quarterback has time to throw, can embarrass you. That includes Georgia. They can do a lot of business against this Georgia secondary if they're given time, which begs the question, how much time will Ty Simpson have? Hey, wait just a second. I appreciate you guys watching. Most of you are subscribed. If you're not, please do so. It's free. It helps us keep the show free, and that's how we do college football year-round. All right, back to the video. I also think about getting Jam Miller back. One of the other things I kind of got to see to believe with Alabama is you get your tailback back. Jam Miller, phenomenal camp. Obviously not penciled in, but written in Sharpie as their RB1, and they've been without him, and they get him back. If that just resurrects their ground game, so be it. I frankly don't even think they look for that to happen here. I think they look to manufacture what would be rushing yardage a little more creatively than that. Be interesting to see who all gets their hands on the ball in the backfield this Saturday. But I just think Ty Simpson and that wide receiver core, I mean, if he's given any time, they'll go to work here. Tennessee, when Georgia went up there, had 9 passes of 15-plus yards. Ty Simpson's 41 of 46 in his last 2 games for 612, 8 touchdowns, no picks. And you look at the variety, not just the weapons Alabama has in their wide receiver room, it's how unique or maybe how varied the personnel is. Ryan Williams, everyone pops on the Georgia tape last year when they talk about Ryan Williams. Again, I'll be really interested to see how they use him Saturday, above and beyond the obvious. Jeremy Bernard is the best receiver that they've had. Kirby Smart talked about that earlier this week. I agree with him. Isaiah Horton, a different, bigger-bodied type guy. The one I think could break out is Latsier Brooks in this game. You got a lot of guys that you got to account for here. I don't know that Georgia's secondary is as deep with proven talent. In fact, I know they're not as they have been in the past. Their defense is 92nd in the country right now in 30-plus yard pass plays given up. That's because they've played Tennessee and most other folks haven't. Okay, so that warps the stat category a little bit, but then you think to yourself, this group could do exactly what Tennessee did to you, albeit in your own building, if you give them time. So that's the Bama side of things offensively. Then you talk about the Georgia side of things offensively, and I just want you to fill in this blank for me. Georgia protecting Gunnar Stockton is what? Is it a huge issue all night? Is it sort of an issue? Is it spotty? Is it a non-issue? Does this offensive line just beautifully answer the bell? If they do, Georgia could win this thing by double digits. One of the things you got to bank on if you're siding with Alabama in this game is they're the number 5 team in the country, according to PFF at least, in pressure rate. And they're facing a really vulnerable offensive line. As of this moment, I got no clue what Georgia's going to do on the right side of their offensive line, but that quick pass game's got to be there. Their run game's got to be there. You talk about a competitive character test, a manhood test. It makes a lot of this academic if you can just run the ball for 4.8 yards per carry. That wouldn't set the world on fire. It wouldn't set records, but it'd be good enough for Georgia to then also incorporate that quarterback run game, which a lot of these teams with quarterbacks that have mobility about themselves gear up for these games. That's where it's worked into the script. And elsewhere, it's just kind of, we know we can win by throwing our helmet out there. I look forward to seeing the tight end position in this game as well, because I think the tight end position, Delp, Lawson Lucky, guys that would, be they're stars there, but they're the kinds of guys, if I plugged them in Penn State's offense randomly, would shine, would be leading receiver type material. Georgia happens to have loaded up at wide receiver a fair amount themselves, which leads me to my next point. For all the weaponry we're talking about with Alabama, Georgia, they've got some guys out wide too. They specifically retooled that room, I think, for games like this. They watched what Bama did to them last year to get out to that early lead, and then they responded. But I think their skill set is different above and beyond this year in the wide receiver department now than it was last year. I really think they want the option, if they get in those types of games, to feel totally comfortable. That's in our wheelhouse now. It's not uncomfortable at all. That's in our wheelhouse. The intangibles in this game probably matter about as much as any of these big games this Saturday. You can talk all you want to about Bama being on the road and think it has this reverse psychological effect of, if I talk about it enough, maybe it won't be an issue. It's an issue until proven otherwise, guys. That Oklahoma result's not going away. That Vandy result's not going away. That Florida State result's not going away. And people want to get mad at it, they can get mad at it. They've been a different team on the road than they have been at home. That's got to change, or else you chalk these games up as losses. But Georgia's got a Bama issue as well. And if you don't think that's real, then I don't really know that you've been watching this. I have watched Georgia torment Tennessee. Torment them. I've watched Bama torment Georgia. So if you're a Georgia fan and you believe in that intangible variable mattering in the Tennessee matchup, it matters here as well. Let's take a look at what the model thinks about this game. The FanDuel number right now is Georgia -2.5, which changed this afternoon, right, Jesse? I think it changed this afternoon. Model kind of agrees with what it already was. Model's got Georgia -3.5. Here's where I'm going with this. The exact same way I went when Georgia went up to Neyland Stadium. If I'm going to be proven wrong on this, I'm going to be proven wrong by Georgia losing in a place they haven't lost in since, I don't know, it's been a long, long time. If I'm going to be proven wrong, I'm going to be proven wrong by Bama thriving on the road instead of struggling like they have recently. So until I see both of those things change simultaneously, to me, this is Georgia's game. So I'll take Georgia to win. I'll take Georgia to cover. And we'll be there. Either way, we will be there. Looking really, really forward to that one. That is about the most intense matchup that I've seen in this league over the past several years. We had that crazy stat. Jesse, I can't remember exactly what it was. We should have written it down. That matchup, Georgia or Alabama, that's been every SEC champ since like 2014 except for 1 year when LSU won it in 2019. Crazy.